Hey guys, thanks for joining me today on the Dad Code Podcast. Real dads, real talk, no BS. Gonna talk about this Uvalde thing again. I really tried to get rid of it from my mind, tried to move on, but my goodness, believe it or not, Jocko Willink. Listened to his one of his more recent podcasts. I think it was from a few days ago, actually, and he actually agreed with some of the things I was talking about on this show. So maybe he was listening to us. I doubt it, but you get what I'm saying. But anyways, before we get started, guys, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button there on YouTube for me. Hit the Rumble button for me on Rumble. Go ahead and follow us on all of our social media on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter. We're also on all your favorite podcasting platforms. So if you want to catch us on the audio versions, check us out there. Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Amazon, all those. We're there. Just check us out there and give us a follow. All right, jumping right into it, guys. The man, Jocko. He weighed in on his opinions on the Uvalde tragedy, disaster, if you will, from a tactical standpoint. I caught some flack for my opinions, both from my immediate sphere as well as here on the internet. Blake, you're not a military guy, you're not a police guy, you don't know anything about this. Why should we listen to you? That's a stupid idea. You don't know what you're talking about. You're not an expert. Well, guess who is an expert? Jocko. Jocko is, highly decorated Navy SEAL guy, trained SEALs for a living. This is what he does. And he weighed in on his, it was Jocko Podcast number 338 for those of y'all who want to check it out. I would highly recommend it. I'll actually put a link to it in the description. I think it's really worth a listen. He does a breakdown of the timeline and kind of weighs in on things that he just sees along the way that were just completely unacceptable, and maybe some of the stuff that's come out since we did our little commentary on it that have come out as far as some explanations for stuff that just didn't add up, and he weighs in on that as well. Really interesting stuff. But I'm going to share with you a little clip here because I caught a lot of flack for, my solution is that, this gun debate is what it is. We got a lot of idiots on both sides that are making their arguments. But in order to give them the space to be able to make their arguments and get that argument going, but at the same time being able to protect our kids, protecting the people that can't protect themselves, our most vulnerable things that we have or people that we have in this world, our children. We got to do something in the meantime. We got to stop the bleeding, so to speak, and I don't mean that in any disrespectful way. Well, we have to do something to protect our kids in the meantime. And I had mentioned, get security at schools, real security. I'm talking like, we need 3, 4, 5 at each school. And they don't need to be necessarily interacting with kids, but their sole job is to preserve the lives of the kids inside of that school. I don't see how that's that big of a deal. And, I think I even mentioned that, I guess people are going to argue that, you don't want to send your kid to a school, to a jail or whatever. Jocko even brings that up in this. I want you to listen to this little clip here from Jocko Podcast number 338. Let's see, it is right here. I'll share this with you guys and I'll let you listen in here.
Look, no one wants to bring their kids to a school where the school feels like it's a reverse prison, right? Or some kind of a prison environment where you've got barbed wire, you've got bars on the window and all this kind of stuff. No one wants to bring their kids to school like that. But there is a way to properly secure schools where it doesn't look like some prison camp.
Yeah, I mean, I think he says it really clear there. No one is saying that we got to, make it look like Alcatraz or Leavenworth or whatever, but there's a way to do it to keep everybody safe. Let's listen to some more.
There's absolutely a way to make that happen. And I think that just about any parent, I think actually any parent would be okay with having some security in place so that the school is a place where people can't get into unless they're supposed to be there.
Sounds familiar, right? I mean, if you're not supposed to be there, you don't get in. You got to have a reason to be there. You don't just walk up to the back door and walk in.
So the back door's open. Look, does this mean I'm a little bit paranoid? Yes. Yeah, a little bit paranoid. And I think a little bit of paranoia is actually okay. A little bit of paranoia is actually okay. So that was at 11:33.
And he goes on there to kind of continue his breakdown of the timeline for the shooting and how it was all breaking down there. But I'll kind of fill you guys in on a little bit of it. I mean, basically, within about 4 to 6 minutes, there were police officers in the school, as many as 6 or 7 by that time. And Jocko's point is 7-on-1. I like those odds. Active shooter inside of a school with kids inside. That means it's time to go. Instead, they get shot at and they retreat, which I don't think is an unreasonable thing to do initially when you get shot at. But, finding out some more of this stuff as we go along, that apparently the police chief shows up there right around that time too. And apparently he didn't even have his radio. So there was the guy that was in charge of all this didn't even have a way to communicate with everybody. He claimed that he was afraid it was going to slow him down, quote unquote. It's according to Jocko, he calls it an insane lack of judgment for that to happen. I believe that he called communications in a scenario like this being beyond mission critical. So it was just totally jacked up in the first place. Jocko's whole thing is that we got to train these cops better. That he's been saying that for years. That police, the reason we're seeing police officers that are reacting to certain situations poorly, whether it be shooting somebody that was unarmed or not being able to, de-escalate a situation to the point to where, violence was not needed, is all due, or a school shooting, even so, just poor training. There's a lot of movements that are talking about taking funding away from cops, and it's situations like this and stuff like this, and hearing from people like Jocko, even that are experts in the field. I would say, they are world-renowned experts. This is what they do. The very best at what they do, in fact. And they're saying that these people need to be trained better. I think we need to listen to people like that. But the timeline is just atrocious. I can't even continue to tell you how frustrating it is that, there were law enforcement officers arriving all the way up to like 30 minutes afterwards. And I, like Jocko as well, I mean, and I'm not in the same vein as Jocko by any means, but Jocko's like, what are we doing? We got a bunch of people arriving. We had, what do we have? As many as like 16 or 17 or whatever, or 13. I can't remember how many were in the school at one time. Why are we not breaching? Why? It's insanity, absolute insanity. You know, I try not to get too involved in political things on this channel. I try to keep it dad centric, but when in instances like this, I have a very soft spot in my heart for kids. And when kids are mistreated, as a dad, I feel like I have to weigh in. And I feel like, as a man also, and this is part of what needs to change in our society, that, men don't call out absurdity. And what happened in Uvalde was absurdity on the part of the police force. I'm not saying that I'm a perfect person, or that I would like to think that I would have done differently, but I think that the way that it was handled was absurd, and we have to do better. Again, I mean, I know that was my message last time: is we got to do better. We got to come together, but we have to be able to be honest with ourselves that this type of thing is not going to get better by moving all the way in a direction of taking away certain people's rights. I try not to get involved in the gun debate and the gun rights debate, gun control, whatever you want to call it. I'm not here to tell you that you have the right to every single armament known to man, including nuclear weapons. That is absurd. But I do believe that we as Americans have a right to defend ourselves with firearms. And I think we have the right to own them. So says our Constitution. I do believe that we need to have that discussion for sure as a country. Background checks. Everybody says, we need background checks. Well, we have background checks. But I do want to concede the fact that, yes, we have background checks, but they suck right now. Apparently this guy did a background check, and, there's got to be something that we can do to rectify both sides have to be able to come together and give a little bit. Right now, there's just two factions. One faction says take all the guns away, and then it makes it better, and the other side says nope, you can't take anything away from me. F off. And I see both sides. I really, really do. But I can tell you, with an incident like Uvalde that happens, whenever a crazed lunatic falls through the system, somehow gets through the background checks, which admittedly probably are not very good, makes it through whatever kind of loophole that he gets through to get all these armaments and all the guns, all the rounds, all the magazines. And then to sit here and say that we're going to take away everybody else's guns to put our lives in the hands of people who may or may not be trained well enough to be able to handle that situation. I mean, I think Uvalde is that example, right? So you want me to rely on those people? Well, those people were scared to go in. They got shot at and ran away. They're supposed to be the people we're supposed to rely on. Now, people will say, well, if he didn't have the gun in the first place, he wouldn't have done it. Bad people find ways to do bad things. I'm not saying that I can see some of the logic behind, say, if you ban guns, then no, he wouldn't have had the gun. You don't know that. You don't know that. And you don't know whether or not it would have been a gun that he used. You don't know if he would have made a bomb of some kind and walked into a school. I mean, it isn't, people are crazy, and crazy finds a way to do crazy things. I don't have all the answers, guys. I really don't. And I don't pretend to. But I'm just a guy, okay? And I can't be the only one thinking these kinds of things. As a country, we've got to figure out how to have this conversation in a civil way. We've got to have a conversation that is rational as well. Do I think we should have every single type of gun known to man at our disposal? Probably not. Probably not. I could be wrong, and I could be swayed differently. Now, do we need to get rid of guns? I don't know. Maybe I could probably be swayed that way too. But right now, looking at this Uvalde situation, it's definitely, in my opinion, I see it more as I see more evidence that we should all have guns rather than rely on police who may or may not be trained well enough to be able to help us. Because that was a absolute fiasco as far as police work, from what I can tell. And, Jocko's ultimate assessment of that, it seemed like overall in his podcast that he did, again, that link will be in the description down below, was that he thought that this was just completely botched. Fathers being tased, mothers being handcuffed, parents begging to be able for them to go into the school and stop them from shooting, or at least let them go stop them. Let the parents go stop them that were armed. It's heartbreaking. Kids hold a really soft spot in my heart. And I just think that, when it comes to a crazed madman or woman, and it's usually a man, that goes into a school to kill kids, like Jocko said, he needs to be hunted down and killed immediately. And, if you're sitting here saying that the police are the ones that we have to rely on to do that if we don't have any guns, I think that this situation may make you think otherwise. Like I said, I'm not getting involved in this gun debate. All I know is that the way that this played out, it sure as heck looks more like we need more good guys with guns than bad guys. But we're not going to get into that. Trying to stay non-political, but I fail a lot, guys. What can I say? Sorry. But that's all I got. Go check out Jocko's podcast, Jocko Podcast number 338. He breaks down the timeline, gives his expert opinion on it. I would highly recommend you guys checking that out. Tell me what you think about it. Jocko seems to agree with, some of the stuff that I was saying. And I'm just a guy on the internet, heaven forbid that, some common sense is coming to the internet. But anyways, check it out. See what you guys think. That's all I got for today. Hit the like and subscribe button on the way out on YouTube. Hit the Rumble button on Rumble. Follow us on all of our social media. And you can find the audio versions of all these podcasts on your favorite podcasting platform. That's all I got again for today, guys. Dad out.